The Jordan River lay behind them, and before them stood the great city of Jericho. Joshua gazed at its towering walls, thick stone barriers that rose high into the sky, strong and unyielding. From a human perspective, Jericho was impossible to conquer. The gates were shut tight. Soldiers watched from above. The city was prepared for war. But Joshua knew something the people of Jericho did not. The Lord was with Israel. After crossing the Jordan on dry ground, the Israelites camped nearby. Their hearts were full of awe and wonder, but also quiet uncertainty. They had seen miracles before, plagues in Egypt, the Red Sea parting, manna from heaven, but Jericho was different. This was their first battle in the Promised Land. That night, as Joshua stood alone near the city walls, a man appeared before him, holding a drawn sword. Joshua approached cautiously. "Are you for us, or for our enemies?" he asked. The man replied, "Neither. I am the commander of the army of the Lord." At once, Joshua fell face down to the ground in reverence. He knew this was no ordinary man. It was a messenger of God's power and authority. "What message does my Lord have for his servant?" Joshua asked. The commander said, "Remove your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy." Then the Lord spoke to Joshua and gave him instructions, not for swords or ladders or siege weapons, but for obedience and faith. Jericho would not fall by strength alone. The plan was unlike anything Joshua had ever heard. For 6 days, the army of Israel was to march around the city once each day. 7 priests were to walk before the Ark of the Covenant, blowing trumpets made of ram's horns. The soldiers were to remain silent, no shouting, no battle cries, no sound at all. On the 7th day, they would march around the city 7 times. Then, at Joshua's command, the people would shout with all their might. And God promised, the walls of Jericho would collapse. At dawn the next morning, the people assembled. The Ark of the Covenant, symbol of God's presence, was lifted and carried forward. The priests blew their trumpets, their notes echoing across the plain. The soldiers marched in silence, step by steady step, circling the massive city walls. From above, the people of Jericho watched in confusion. No arrows flew. No battering rams struck the gates. Only footsteps and trumpets. Once around the city, the Israelites returned to their camp. Day after day, the same strange ritual continued. By the 3rd day, whispers spread through Jericho. By the 5th day, mockery followed. By the 6th day, fear crept into every home. The Israelites said nothing, but their faith was growing. Each silent march was an act of trust. Each step declared, "We believe the Lord will fight for us." Then came the 7th day. Before sunrise, Joshua called the people together. "Today is the day the Lord has given us the city," he said. "March around it 7 times. When you hear the long blast of the trumpets, shout, for the Lord has given you Jericho." The priests lifted their horns. The ark moved forward. The army marched. Once, twice, 3 times. With every circle, tension filled the air. 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. Finally, the 7th march was completed. The priest sounded a long, mighty blast. Joshua raised his voice. "Shout, for the Lord has given you the city." The people lifted their voices in one thunderous cry. And then, the ground shook. The walls of Jericho cracked, trembled, and collapsed, crumbling into the earth as if struck by an unseen hand. Stones fell outward, clearing a path straight into the city. What had stood for generations fell in a single moment, by the power of God. The Israelites charged forward, exactly as the Lord had promised. Only one household was spared, the home of Rahab. She had hidden the spies and trusted in the God of Israel. A scarlet cord hung from her window, marking her family for salvation. Just as God had promised, Rahab and her household were saved. When the battle was over, Joshua reminded the people that the victory was not theirs by strength or skill, but by obedience and faith. The fall of Jericho became a testimony for all generations. It showed that no wall is too high for God, no obstacle too strong, no promise too difficult to fulfill. The people of Israel learned that victory does not always come through might, but through trust. And Joshua learned something too. The same God who parted the Jordan still led his people forward, step by step, miracle by miracle. As the dust settled over Jericho's fallen walls, the Israelites stood on the land promised to their ancestors long ago. The journey was far from over. But one thing was now certain. When God goes before his people, no wall can stand. The walls of Jericho fell not by strength, but by faith. When God goes before his people, no obstacle can stand. Join us in the next episode as Joshua leads Israel deeper into the Promised Land.